In this video, we're going to look at a couple more cool concepts to do with functions and how to get around them. And so the first one is fx is bigger than naught. Where does that happen? So first we need to work out fx is the parabola. So where's the parabola above 0? In English, where this line here, the x-axis is like ground level. So where's the function above ground level? And then you can see it's from the one x to the other x. So from -1 to 3. And so you'd write your answer to this question from -1 to 3. I won't put or equal to because the question didn't have or equal to. Then these ones can start to get a little bit confusing. Where is gx? So again, turn into English. Where's the straight line above, bigger than the parabola? Where's the straight line above the parabola? So the straight line in the beginning on the left here is above the parabola. So I see it there. The straight line then dips below the parabola, and the straight line at the end is above, it's higher up than the parabola. And so those would be my regions. Here, be careful, you want to say x is less than 3 or something like that. That's the y value. The x value here is 0. So it's x is less than 0 or x is bigger than 3. And so let's write that answer. X is less than 0 or x is bigger than 3. What is a function? How do we know something's a function? It's because it passes the vertical line test. If I did vertical lines anywhere in the graph, it would only cut it once at a time. Whereas if I had a circle, I would be cutting it twice if I had vertical lines going through it. So that would not be a function. Then if you see weird looking equations or inequalities within a graph question, it's usually just asking about the graph, but it needs a bit of rearranging. And so if you had something like this, now that I've mentioned it, you might notice it more often. And they say, use your graphs to solve this. Rather than starting a whole brand new question, watch what's going to happen. I'm going to try to take it all across, and I end up with minus x squared plus 2x plus 3. And I realize, hey, that was actually my original f graph. And so actually all this is asking now is where is the original f graph less than naught? Where is it? Below 0, which would be on this side here and this side here. So my answer to that question would be x is less than or equal to -1, or x is bigger than or equal to 3. If you find yourself totally stuck with 2 letters and you're trying to solve finding the equation, then don't stress, just sub in 2 points and it will end up becoming a simultaneous equation. If a question says something like x is an element of -2 with a square bracket to 2, all that they're doing in that question is they're just limiting you and saying stop at -2 and stop the graph at +2. Because it was a round bracket, it would be an open circle. And so all that you do is you would just sub in -2 into the equation, sub in 2 into the equation, and those would be your end of your domain. If you ever have an angle of inclination, let's just pop one here and say that they will ask you what is theta, then it's always the angle that it makes with the x-axis. And so you always use this baby little formula, tan theta equals m. And so if I know here the gradient is -1, tan theta equals -1. If I shift that, I get -135. So shift tan -1. I personally always like to just add 180 immediately before I think too hard, because then I can see, is that the 45 or is this entire side the 45? And this acute angle is the 45, so there I've done it. So anytime you suddenly need angles in graphs, or if you're given an angle and you start a question and they say the angle is 76, round it off to the nearest integral value or integer, then I would start this question by saying tan theta equals m. I know that the angle of inclination is 76, and so I'm not going to shift because I have the angle. I'm just going to punch it straight in, and the nearest integer is 4. And so going back to straight line graphs, y equals 4x plus c, and then I would look somewhere on the graph for a point to sub in so that I can get my missing letter. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends.